G'day everybody, Nick here, just going to give you a rundown on today's Charters Tower sale. Look, a fair yard in the cattle again this week. We had around 3,500 head in the sale, probably half prime cattle and half store cattle again. Look, the job I would say was pretty firm on last week, if not better on the bullocks, a little bit softer on the cows, but in saying that the cows probably weren't as heavy as they have been in the last previous weeks. But look, we'll get into it. The bullock run. The bullocks got topped out at 376 cents today. Now, those bullocks were over 600 kilos. So what we're generally seeing in this prime job at the minute, any cattle with plenty of weight are in very good demand. Any of these cattle back around your 500 kilos, look, they're still making good money, but you're sitting more around your $3.30, $3.40, $3.50 mark. So still a big result on what we've been seeing over the last previous weeks, but like I said, 370 cents for the best pen of bullocks. Prime heifers, we couldn't say there was too many pens of good prime heifers. We had more heifers around 450 or 60 kilos, say. They topped out at 322 cents to average back around your $2.90 to $3 mark. So another great result on the heifer job. But getting into the cows, we're seeing a few pens of good heavy cows and certainly in demand. The best of the cows were making out 350 cents. Now that's once again any cows over 580 kilos, they're the cows making the bigger money. If you come back into your 550, 500 kilo cows, you're probably more likely going to get $3 to $3.30, which is still a great result. Come back into your slipperier cows under 500, you're probably more looking around your $2.80 to $90 mark, and we had a lot of those cattle there this week. So the market report might read a little bit cheaper, but the weight was probably back on the cows. But certainly big heavy cows, still every bit of $3.30 plus. Look, the bull job was very good again. Top bulls, 350 cents. Now, we've got the processors and the exporters into the bulls now. So if you've got any old herd bulls, I'd reckon it's time to get into these bulls and start culling them. They can make anywhere from $3 up until $3.50, but you're more looking around your $3.10 to $3.20 mark. So that's the bull job. The store job, look, the store job probably took a little bit of a slide today, just ongoing that we probably didn't have the volume of the Western fellas coming out to chase those cattle as it was combined sale. Every week we've been having a store sale, so I'd nearly suggest if you've got cattle and we are going to go for a special store sale, we'd go into likely put them into the special store sales on a Wednesday if we can do it just at the minute. But look, the steer job certainly topped out 380 cents on some crossbred steers again. Look, they're probably more like your 220 to 30 kilo steers, but certainly once you got up into that bit of 300 to 320 kilo steer, you're probably more looking around your $3.20 to $3.40 mark. If they're a crossbred, you're coming into a Brahman, you might be $3 to $3.20. So the Brahman steer job is still holding okay on the heavy cattle. Come under your 200 kilos, they're very hard to sell. So if you're in the market for light steers or light heifers, certainly come to Charters Towers because they can make anywhere from $2 to $3, which there is a good gain in some of them cattle if you've got the grass. The heifer job was very strong again today. The best of the heifers got out to 320 cents. Now they're the Rapazada heifers. They had a bit of weight in them. They're probably 400 kilos. So once again, the more weight, the more cents a kilo these cattle are starting to make. So the other heifers that were probably 250 to 300 kilos, they're going to make anywhere from $2.50 through to $2.70 mark. So look, if you've got those kind of heifers, don't expect to be too much over $3. If you get them, it's a good result. So look, no cows and calves this week, but next week we're going to have one sale, and then the following week we're going to have two. So the 20th and the 22nd will be two sales, and next week will only be one. So if you got some cattle, give us a ring and we'll go from there.